Hello everyone, and welcome to another beer review. Now today again, we're back on the Scottish series, and we're back on Tennent's again, because I bought quite a lot of Tennent's, and I need to get rid of it. I need to get rid of it, for God's sake, it's getting ridiculous. So yeah, once I can get short of it. So today we're actually on their Scotch Ale. Ooh. So this is a 9% by volume. Again, it's a little baby bottle, as you can see. And there's not really much spiel about it, to be totally honest. Just a little bit at the bottom saying hoppy ale with a warm malty caramel and roasted finish. And we all like a roasted finish, don't we? What does that actually mean, a roasted finish? I mean, seriously. What was it? You chuck in some tatties or something? I mean, what's going on here? A roasted finish. It brings up all connotations in my mind. None associated with beer, unfortunately. So yeah, there we go, boys and girls. Let's have a roasted finish amongst friends. Imagine that. That could be a new way of inviting people to your house, isn't it? Would you like to join me in a roasted finish? Oh dear, seriously, where the hell do they get this from? But anyway, so it's a hoppy ale. So there's hops in it, which again is unusual for a Scottish ale because again the tradition with Scots ales is not to have hops in them, and that's the kind of tradition. And even when we did start to use hops again, it was kind of use them lightly and sparingly, that type of thing. But apparently, this is going against that grain, and it's going to be hoppy, and it's going to be malty. No, the problem is it's not malty caramel; it's malty and caramel, which again is that's a new one on me. But they might have multiple malts in there. One's giving you caramel kind of flavour and feeling, and the other one's just giving you malty flavour and feeling. But anyway, maybe getting a nice caramel sweetness or something like that. I don't know. But yes, it's a 330 ml bottle. I'm trying to remember what they're charging this for. It's over £2 anyway, if I remember rightly. And it's 9%, like I said. And there's absolutely nothing on the back, no spill at all, which is probably a good thing from that point of view. So let's crack on and see what it's like. Don't piss over me, don't piss over me. Always dubious because this has been sitting in the fridge quite a while. And even though I'm quite gentle and things like that, unfortunately the oldest boy might not be. He'd be in there rummaging about, shaking everything, looking for a roasted finish. Anyway, let's pull this out. There we go. Look at that. We've got a wee baby glass. Look at that. And you can hear the effervescence. So for people on the podcast, it's a kind of brownish clear ale. Not overly dark brown, but darker than obviously an amber anyway. I wouldn't say it's a full brown ale, but it's getting kind of towards that kind of colour, if you know what a brown ale is, wherever you are in the world. And if you don't, Google it. That's what I do. What's that mean? Roasted finish. Google it. No, probably don't Google that. That's probably one thing you probably wouldn't want to Google because you might get a completely different interpretation there. But anyway, the head, well, it's the usual Tennent's head. Now you see it, now you don't. What we call the abracadabra head. Seriously, you'll like it, not a lot. But anyway, it's it looks okay. I would have expected it to be a bit darker for a Scottish ale, and especially with the alcohol content. I'm kind of thinking it's probably kind of closer to a wee heavy, but maybe not. Maybe it's what do they actually mean by a Scotch ale? Do they actually mean just a standard heavy? Or what do they mean? Or do they kind of came up with their own thing as a Scotch ale to kind of cover? We're going to put more hops in it than usual. So let's have a smell, see what it smells like. I'm getting malt, get a bit of grain. I'm also getting some alcohol vapours. There's a shocker. Maybe a little bit of sweetness. What I'm not getting is actually hops. So hopefully, because it's a high alcohol content, hopefully there'll be quite a strong malt flavour, because that's the best way to carry it off. If you've got good malt flavours, then they're robust enough to carry higher alcohol beers. The problem is, if you don't have that and you're relying on hops, then usually it goes the other way and you start getting a kind of slightly ethanol kind of sensation with it, which is usually quite unpleasant. So, let's see what it tastes like. Well, two things spring to mind. Two things definitely spring to mind. Sweetness and alcohol. That's the two things you're getting there. Right. What we're going to do is give you a little bit of sweetness at the start, and then the rest of it can be ethanol. And you're getting the ethanol vapours and everything there as you're swallowing it. Jesus. Or maybe, as I'm thinking, maybe it's the more style as a bit like the Belgian kind of Scotch ale, where they basically do a strong dark ale that's supposed to be reminiscent of the kind of traditional Scottish way of brewing, which of course is less hops and everything else. So that's another thing you kind of throw me. So it could be a bit like that with a higher alcohol content, and of course it being a dark ale, and supposed to be kind of malty and caramel and all these type of things, and that's what basically the Belgians do, and they're actually quite nice. And it's probably slightly kind of Belgian-esque with that, but I think that's more to do with the alcohol content. The only difference is that the Belgians are very good at kind of balancing high alcohol beers out, so they aren't so kind of ethanol and vapory when you're drinking them. Whereas this is a bit kind of vapory, to be totally honest. I mean, it's not a bad thing. The hops, I don't know where they're getting hops from, because I can't taste any hops at all, really. Maybe it's me. Maybe they'll come later on. Maybe they'll just, they're late to the party. You never know. Maybe they're still waiting for that roasted finish before they decide to come and join us. And I'll be totally honest, right now I'm not getting a roasted finish, which is probably to the relief of anybody watching this video. I'm not. But no, I'm not getting any kind of roastiness or kind of, I don't know, smokiness or anything like that in the aftertaste. So I don't know. Our predominant flavours is malty sweetness. It might be construed as caramel, but it's like it's a bit strange because you've got the maltiness, you've got the sweetness, and the two of them just don't really seem to be on the same kind of wavelength. They don't seem to be completely connected. And then after that, you're just getting alcohol. That's all you're getting. It's like, it's, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me a bit like kind of absinthe. You know, when you used to do it with the sugar cube. So you get that sweetness and then you just get the alcohol, and it's like, that's it. Um, and if you like that, you'll love this. But if you want the kind of flavours to be connected, well, I suppose the alcohol is connected because it's 9%, but it doesn't seem to be have any reflection on anything else flavour wise. It's just, yeah, it's strange. It's strange. It's not a heavy, it's not a wee heavy, it's just, don't know really what it's supposed to be. The only thing I think of is like a Scottish brewery copying Belgian breweries, which is basically copying a Scottish style. So it's a Scottish brewery copying Belgian breweries when they do a Scottish style beer. Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? But yeah, lovely. By the way, we've got some new camera setup, so we have. So it'll be interesting to see whether this is a better video experience for people. Unfortunately, it's still my fizzer that's going to be on the video, so of course it's not going to be transformed that much. You know, it's still going to be that element of disappointment. But hopefully, it might be a bit clearer. I've still kept it at 1080p. I haven't went to the 4K because I did some tests on it, and well, if you think this face could look any more horrific, you'd be right, especially in 4K. Seriously. It's absolutely horrific, seriously. So I thought, right, we'll just stick with the 1080 just now, and we'll just do it at a higher um, frames per second. Which I'm sure loads of people are interested in, thinking, what the fuck's he talking about? Oh, so shut up. What's the beer like? Absolutely, hear you loud and clear. I suppose it's getting a bit better as your mouth becomes more acclimatised and your lungs become more acclimatised to the vapour, so it's not such of a, how would you say, a shock to the system from that point of view. But it is a bit of a strange one. See, I don't know whether I like it or not. At the start, I didn't. I'm maybe getting a wee bit better now as I'm becoming acclimatised to it, but jury's still out. Right. Still got the ethanol is just not really dissipating. You're still getting that bit of vapour, especially around a bit like in the lung region after swallowing it. So you're getting a bit acclimatised to it, but it's still there as something not particularly pleasant. Let's break down the flavours and see if this will help you. Starts off, you're getting quite a rich malty flavour at the start, and kind of slightly darker malt as well, and a little bit of grain. But this is where the problem starts, because you're getting this sweetness as well at the front of the mouth. But because the malt tastes kind of slightly darker, maybe roasted, it's not finished though, but you get that kind of roasted malt, kind of slightly darker malts. And the thing with the darker malts is you don't really get so much sweetness with them. You'll get more of a roasted flavour, you'll get maybe more kind of slightly other flavours like chocolate, coffee. And one of the other things you'll get is molasses kind of style flavour, so there's a slight bitterness to it. But the level of sweetness at the front of the mouth doesn't kind of tie in with the kind of malty flavour. So you get the malty flavour and you get the sweetness, and you're thinking, well, why am I getting that malty flavour and getting that level of sweetness? It doesn't really kind of add up. It doesn't feel connected. It feels disjointed. It feels that the sweetness is not really coming from the malt so much. It's coming from somewhere else. And that's where the alarm bells are ringing in my head, thinking, where the hell is it coming from? So there we go. I think we know where it's coming from. And we call brewing sugars. But yeah, anyway, so you've got that. And then it moves into you get a little bit of alcohol sensation at the front of the mouth, but when it moves into the mid-tongue, it's really all you're getting. The malt flavour dies down, the sweetness is kind of still there, a little bit of grain, but you really are getting a very, very strong ethanol kind of wave coming right over the top of everything. And it's just blanketing everything. And of course, when you move on to the the aftertaste. The sweetness is there from front to back. That same level of sweetness basically doesn't feel like it actually dissipates at all until it starts finishing up in the aftertaste. But what you do, well, what you do get is, don't do that. No, when I'm looking for a roasty finish. But anyways, what you do get in the aftertaste is that the ethanol starts to kind of really accumulate at the back of the mouth. So when you do swallow it, you start getting the kind of vapor coming back on you. It just kind of, it feels like your lungs are floating. That type of scenario, which isn't probably the most pleasant sensation. You know, when you used to be a kid and your dad or whoever was driving would go over a kind of a bump in the road or a hump in the road quite quickly and be like, you use that. Or if you're on kind of roller coaster, you just get a kind of slight kind of light feeling as it kind of drops down and everything's kind of, well, it feels a bit like that with the lung region just because of the vapours. And yeah, the aftertaste doesn't have anything in it. It's just like the sweetness is there. The malt's really kind of non-existent. The grain's non-existent. It's just sweetness and alcohol. And then you swallow it and you think alcohol. And that seems to be the predominant flavour. Like I say, two predominant flavours really is sweetness and alcohol. And, and at certain points, the alcohol wins. God, like it catches in the back of the throat as well. So yeah, it's an alright beer, but I just feel it's not been executed particularly well. Um, I would say the Belgians do this style of beer better. I mean, their Scotch ales are more controlled, more balanced, and the recipe is designed to cope with the higher. But it's the same when you get a triple and a quadruple and things like this, or even a double. They actually are designed, and the recipe is designed to kind of absorb the higher alcohol content. So it's not such a big thing, and it's not really kind of affecting the flavours so much. Whereas this, it's the opposite way. The alcohol is playing a big part in the flavour profile, and not in a good way, unfortunately. So, what would I give this out of 10? Well, fair play to Tennent's for trying to do something a bit different and kind of maybe go out of their comfort zone. I mean, if you look at it, this is the same brewery that does Tennent's Lager, and you think, and we tried their IPA, their India Pale Ale, which wasn't too bad. It wasn't really an IPA, but it was something a bit more interesting. And I think that's probably the best way to approach Tennent's products is look at it the box standard. Tennent's Lager is just the boring average piss water that they churn out that people drink and everybody's happy and great, but it really is nothing great at all. In fact, it's not good at all, to be totally honest, in my view, but other people like it. But for me, it's just that kind of, it falls under the category of mainstream piss water. So when a brewery does something a bit different or tries something a bit different, even if they don't really pull it off particularly well, but if they make a product that's something a bit more interesting and, in my view, something that's more attractive. I mean, if I were based in a pub and it was a Tennent's pub and there were loads of Tennent's products, then what's on tap? Tennent's Lager, you can shove that, yeah. What else have they got? They've got their Tennent Special. Again, you can shove that with your ass. Anything else? Oh, we've got a couple of bottles. We've got the IPA, and they've also got the Scotch Ale. Right, well, yeah, give it a bottle of that. Or, so it's something as an option. And for me, it's more interesting and maybe not done particularly well, but done to a certain degree that it's still drinkable. And I think that's really what you can kind of hope for with a lot of Tennent's products is it's not the best. It's alright. It's drinkable. And that's probably the best and the nicest thing I can probably say about it. So, on that basis, I'll give it a 4.5. I'll give it a 4.5 if you don't mind the alcohol. And I like strong Belgian beers, and I like other strong beers as well. So I can cope with it, but it's not the best executed, and the alcohol is playing way too much of a part in the flavour than it really should, and also in the kind of drinking experience than it really should. So you've got to bear that in mind. So 4.5 is what I'm going to give it. Would I recommend it? Well, give it a go and see what you think. You might like it, you might not. If you're not into high alcohol beer, then probably avoid it because you really are going to notice it. Let's be totally honest, you really will, and you probably will struggle with it. So my view is save your money, go and spend it somewhere else. But if you're a bit more adventurous and maybe you want something a bit, if you are a Tennent's regular drinker and you want something maybe a bit different, or you want to try something a bit different from Tennent's, then yeah, give it a go because it is something different. If you're into kind of more Belgian beers and things like that, then I would say give it a go, and it would maybe help to kind of reinforce your appreciation for Belgian beers and how the Belgians brew beers. And the standards they work to is probably the best way of putting it. So yeah, give it a go and kind of see where this is. You will be able to identify where it's kind of falling down and where it's not really working, and it's a good tester on your palate and how you basically compare beers as well, and how you kind of look at beers, because I think sometimes we drink the beers and we just take certain things for granted, and then when you basically taste something that's not really quite done right, you start getting a better appreciation for when it is. So yeah, I think this could be a good one for people that are kind of maybe taking Belgian beers a bit for granted. And yeah, try this, and I'm sure it will basically reinvigorate your appreciation for how the Belgians do it. But yeah, it's okay, but nothing brilliant. So 4.5 out of 10. It's 9%. It's a 350 ml bottle because tenants love little baby bottles, and it's over £2. So thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye for now.